Welcome back in live to another episode of Rock Boys Football. It's Victory Monday. I mean, it should be Victory Sunday, but we're recording the episode on Monday. Michigan had a phenomenal game against Washington at home under the lights at the Big House, and we're going to break it down for you guys. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. I saw a lot of fans that we engage with on Twitter and that just largely are Michigan fans complaining about the play call. Very run heavy. I think we ran the ball like 50 plus times and only threw the ball like 15. Really disproportionate favoring the run. We ran the ball really well, which is the good news. But I think some of the fans are a little fed up with the lack of opening the playbook. Dale, let's hear your take first and get the ball rolling.
I mean, offhand, to me, if we scored 14 points, I'd be a little pissed about what happened if we didn't throw the ball and really couldn't score. But obviously, when you put up 30 and have two running backs go for 150 plus each, I think they were actually both in the 170s. So, I mean, they couldn't stop us. So it's at some level, it's like, why would we gone to throw once we were up like that and playing that type of defense? So I get the frustration. Obviously, we haven't seen them really give the quarterback any opportunity for the last 2 weeks now, but I mean, we are running the ball really, really well. So it's hard to quibble because we're scoring.
Yeah, I think the one critique I would have is that to beat some of these big teams like Ohio State, we're going to need to open the offense up. Cade McNamara is going to have to complete some big-time throws, and we're just not really giving him the chance to, one, get that confidence, two, develop the chemistry. I mean, Ronnie Bell's out. Cade McNamara is throwing to largely – I mean, Ronnie Bell and Giles Jackson, two of our three leading receivers from last year are not going to be playing this year. So Cade, in my mind, is getting used to throwing to some new guys, and we're just not really giving him the opportunity to build that chemistry, build that confidence with his receivers. That's like the one critique I have. And there was some plays where it's just like, I don't know why it was frustratingly vanilla. But
I thought there were a few where obviously should have been throwing it for sure. I was pissed about a couple of them where it's third, 2nd and 10 and we're running that frustrated me a little bit.
And I just don't get it because it's like, oh, we don't want to turn the ball over. Okay. Cade, I don't think he's actually thrown an interception as a Michigan Wolverine. I don't think he threw any last year. He hasn't really put the ball in harm's way to the point where it's like, oh, we don't trust him. Joe Milton, I get it. The dude would put the ball in harm's way plenty. But with Cade, it's just he's never done that. I don't know why we're keeping him under wraps as much as we are.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's because we're hammering it on people, and our offensive line is playing kind of the old school Michigan offensive lines that were big, physical, and could impose themselves. And we are doing that this year, so it does sort of limit the need to throw the ball because we can run it.
Yeah, actually, I want to make one point before we get to the offense line. I think it's huge because I think that hurt our air attack or our throwing game last year because we didn't run the ball. We were so poor at running the ball last year. I think when you can't run the ball, it's those DNs. I think we see it similar in the Buffalo Bills not being able to establish a run game. Those pass rushing DNs are queued up on, okay, I'm going after sacks. I'm not playing the run first and letting those guys rip it, do that type of thing is not great. So I am happy that we're establishing the run, and it will help our pass game when we decide to actually throw the ball. So
assuming we do,
it'll come. I'm happy. I will be. The only time I'll get frustrated is when we play like a Penn State, Ohio State, a Wisco team that is very good in the trenches, and we just keep running. If we were to keep running and just not be able to get traction.
Well, if we die on the hill of running the ball, yeah, I'll be pissed. But we did boat race these two teams. So.
I would like to think that we're just establishing the run, establishing that identity, but we're going to be able to really get those linebackers, get those safeties up, queued, playing the run, and then beat them.
I mean, you're going to have to at this point because, yeah, we can do it. And just to get into that offensive line, it's kind of odd because I think there's a lot of similar faces to last year, and it's like a totally different unit.
Trevor
No,
Keegan.
I think Trevor Keegan adds a ton because he might be our best pure, like truly the best lineman on this team right now. I mean, he is playing at a really high level, and that's a position we definitely struggled at with. Filiaga played it a little bit last year, and we never had any consistency. So I think Trevor Keegan's huge. I think Stuber's playing incredible, and in Hayes, Bastardis, and Zinter all
The Stars
playing
is
good
playing
ball
better
too. So
too. The
yeah,
Stars has been a lot better since. I think it's funny. You said it's all the same faces or very similar faces. Every single player on that offensive line, minus maybe Chuck, has noticeably gotten better. And Chuck's probably gotten better too. But I mean, Trevor
well, he's
Keegan,
not really. He didn't play last game
phenomenal,
much.
huh?
Chuck didn't even really play last game. It was all Zinner. It looked like for
Yes,
a
yeah.
good chunk of that
I
game.
think
So
yeah, it's like, oh, I thought Chuck played most.
no, Chuck played. Chuck played the first game, but it looks like they're bringing
They don't.
Zinner in as more of the guy.
But what I'm saying is a lot of these guys got a lot better. They're the same faces, but they're better, and that's because they were young. You know what I mean? Like Trevor Keegan is still a young guy developing. Zach Sinner's obviously a young guy developing. The start surprisingly has gotten way better. I mean, you normally
And it was all football young too, because there was no snaps coming back. I mean, it was all we drafted. What did we draft? 4 out of the 5 of them the year before. So it's like, yeah, everybody was coming in first year and really playing meaningful snaps. So
and they're all playing
and
the best offense.
lest we forget, we got Warner out and Sharon Moore is taken over, and he just seems to be a really solid coach at Michigan. He recruits at a high level, like guys want to play for him. So
Yeah.
there may be a difference, just a younger, fresher approach to that offensive line rather than the old school Warner 1980s style of doing it.
Yeah, I think you can say that for most of the team. Just we're gotten younger. We're getting a little bit just more juice. I think you can tell the guys are just believing in themselves. There's just a different vibe throughout the locker room. So I agree. The younger coaching staff is, I think, probably going to save Jim's coach.
I think so. I think it's going to help immensely because I agree. It's like you haven't seen that like panic yet in my mind. I haven't like seen them. Okay, when things go poorly, they don't like freak out and just go into a free fall. It's much looser. I think. I will also say I don't want to underrate that now that Hutchinson's kind of like the guy. I think he's like
he's quickly
changed a lot. Like
yeah,
he just seems like guys rally around him, guys rally around Josh Ross, even Ronnie Bell. Like I get that he got hurt and that sucked a little bit. Like guys just seem to rally around the vets, whereas before it never seemed like we had that guy. There was nobody with any charisma besides maybe Devin Bush a couple years ago, but we've never had it on the offensive side, and never had guys you felt like were particularly good leaders or rallied the troops in any way. So I like what I'm seeing out of the team in general is and I mean, and I do love that they can run the ball and be physically dominant and keep teams off the field. So,
and that's one of the most underrated things. Like sometimes running the ball is boring, but like the ability to have I think we had 2 7-minute drives where it's like we're just keeping that. I mean, okay, it didn't matter when it's Dylan Morris from Washington, but like when you're keeping CJ Stroud on the bench for 7 minutes twice in one game. And Ohio State's a team you can very much run the ball against this year. Oregon did it very well last game. But that's huge. Breaking up all that rhythm, taking their best players, those wide receivers, skilled position players off the field for an extended amount of time. That's how you beat those teams. And so I love to see Michigan getting back to that. One other thing before we move to the defense, and this is a lot of like the casual fans maybe won't understand this, but these wide receivers blocking are just, it's so big.
Saw you tweeting about it.
It fires me up to see Roman Wilson, Mikey Sansfield maybe didn't have the best game blocking I've seen. He had a couple on the edge that probably could have held longer, but Roman Wilson, Mikey Sansfield, AJ Henning, Cornelius Johnson, these guys are not getting the ball. And a lot of times, a couple of years ago, if this is Donovan Peoples-Jones, Tariq Black, they're throwing fits probably. I mean, these guys are genuinely AJ Henning when Blake Corum busted that run, chasing him down, celebrating. Like these guys want to see those like this team win, and they're gonna do whatever it takes. If that means blocking for 90% of the plays, they'll do it because they're. I mean, those are the type of guys you want in the locker room, and they work hard downfield blocking for their boys. So that kind of fires me up. And again, they have every reason not to want to block. They're not getting the ball. Probably frustrating, but I love to see it. That fires me up. So
no, I know there's a whole different dynamic on this team that I've seen in the past where, yeah, it never felt like there was a ton of energy or passion besides on those good defensive teams like 2018 and 2016. I remember like those teams brought it on defense and then their offense was always just kind of a snoozer. But yeah, I hope we can do it on both sides and just be a more energetic, more loose bunch. And it seems like it looks a little bit like it's trending that way. So I'm pretty excited about how they look. I mean, I love that game.
Putting a Heisman season together, like low key.
Yeah.
Because whether it's just it's obviously like he's being decent receiver was better for week one. Obviously running the ball extremely well, but also like all-purpose yards, like those kick returns, he's also been very good. So I mean,
he takes like one or two kicks to the house and continues on close to the pace he is running. Like he'll be there for sure.
Yeah,
his stats are like he's gonna have 1 billion touchdowns if we keep doing this.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to the defense, which was equally, if not more, impressive last Saturday. We gotta start with Aidan Hutchinson. There's two things.
Best player in the country.
One, he was easily the best player on the field last on Saturday night. Just like unblockable, really. And he was working against a potential first-round draft pick in Kirkland most of the night, and he was dogging him. Like, so, I mean, he's doing it against one of the best tackles in the country, which is impressive. We talked about his leadership, but, I mean, he's just taken it to another level. I think he had 2.5 sacks, a couple TFLs.
Yeah, he dominates against the run, rushes the passer well.
It's just like that defense.
He's playing incredible.
A couple other guys I want to note on the D line. Mozzie Smith has been looking really good on the interior. Chris Hinton and Don Jeter, all three of those guys have been extremely solid all year. Mike Morris, Upshaw have also been giving some really good some snaps. And David Ajabo didn't play as much, but he did have a couple good pass rushes when he got in. And he's again one of those guys who's just super raw. But if he can put it together with that,
yeah, and he's playing pretty good, honestly. Yeah. Like I like when he's in. I think he is. Also, what I like about him is he like low key plays very well in space. I kind of thought he'd look a little like disjointed, if you will, or lost in like more of a linebacker role, which they're dropping Hutch and Ojabo occasionally. Yeah, not as much this game, but last game they did. Yeah. And I think they both like, especially Ojabo, like he looks like fairly comfortable dropping in, making tackles, and playing like a little bit of coverage. And I think that's helpful because it allows us to be a little more flexible on defense as opposed to last year where it's like we're just base 4-3 defense, blitz linebackers, and play man. Now we can do. It seems like we can do a lot more because it seems like Ojabo is a little bit more comfortable, and
same thing with like Jalen Harrell and
even Jalen Harrell, yeah.
And the thing you don't want Hutch dropping back.
You don't want to take Hutch off the pass rush, yeah. Like almost like
if you can confuse the quarterback, confuse the offensive line, who they're picking up, and drop him back, and get a free rusher because of it, it's certainly worth it. So, and again, we talked about it. That's like what's exciting and what's been working so well with this new Mike McDonald team is, or defense, I should say, is it's just not that it's confusing for the opponent, for the quarterbacks. You're not really sure what you're going to get. Mixing in zone with man, blitzing, not blitzing. It's just so predictable the last couple of years. Not nearly like that anymore. Using our guys in different ways. And I think putting guys in places where they can be successful. So it's exciting to watch this defense. Another guy we could talk about from Saturday night is Josh Ross. I think he had his best.
He's playing out of his mind.
Josh Ross has always been a smart player, but I feel like the athleticism was not quite there sometimes, just a little slow. He looks fast. He looks really, really good this year. I don't know what Ben Herbert and those coaching staff's strength coach had him doing. He just looks like a different animal.
Well, what I also would say about him is they're keeping him out of like as much man coverage. Like it seemed like they were asking our middle linebackers to do a ton of pure man coverage last year, which I definitely don't think Josh Ross is like strength. He's a very good blitzer. He's a very good box linebacker.
Yeah.
And then I think you add like in the Kai Hill Green, who's a more of an athlete, and so they're pairing up guys and they're not like putting them in rigid models, like what you were kind of saying. It's like they're putting them in the spots that they're good at. Josh Ross, very good pass rusher, very good against the run in the box. And obviously he's thriving. Josh Ross is getting pressure on quarterbacks, making a lot of TFLs or some TFLs and some tackles in against the run game, which we're shutting down. And yeah, it just looks like guys are just thriving at what they're asked to do more so than last year.
We can mention who's thriving in his new role as Dax Hill, playing that like
incredible
nickel. But again, kind of what you saying, like he's not just getting boxed up as like, okay, just a safety. Like we're letting him go all over the field and be in different positions and make plays. I mean, he was playing like a single high safety at one point. And then he's like up in the box, then playing man coverage in the slot. Realistically, he's our best cornerback on the team, I think.
Well, he'd be probably the best corner and safety. He's like, I think he's that good. Like he's really
at the press conference last week. He's like, I really enjoy the role where it's like I'm all over the field. When I'm in the slot, like I'm giving different looks. Sometimes I'm blitzing, and he's just all over the field. He's a very good tackler. He's a very good in coverage. He's our best athlete on defense, maybe behind Hutch, and we're using him like our best athlete. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I mean, Dax Hill's been just everybody. I mean, there's not really been a guy to really complain about. Gamon Green's gotten beat a couple times, but it's like the times he's gotten beat, it's seemingly
perfect throws, yeah.
Good throw and catch. Like he's there. There's not much separation. He's just struggling to make the play.
And I will say no penalties from the secondary. Or at least maybe they've had like one or two, but I can't remember. I mean, that's a far cry from what it was last year, where it was just every play, every drive had one penalty, a holding, a PI, or something.
Mm-hmm.
We've really limited that in the defensive secondary, which I think is huge.
That's weird because it doesn't even seem like teams are attacking us. I think it's really easy. No, I had this before.
Well, we're getting after people now, so
there's not really much time to sit in the pocket and let a long developing route come. Because I mean, we're getting phenomenal push up front by Mozzie and Chris Hinton, and then Hutchinson, and whether it's Ajabo, Upshaw, Dylan Morris,
Harrell, yeah, all sorts of guys.
It's just there's not a lot of time to throw. We had
in all honesty too, is like last year you could basically just guarantee teams are basically just throwing the ball up right off the line and throwing like fades at any point in the field against our two corners, because again, that's all we were doing was just press man coverage with two corners who really didn't thrive in an exclusive press man coverage system. Like they're not great man coverage guys for every just line up and play man coverage every play. Like they're longer, they're rangier, and you'd like to think that maybe can fit a more of a zone scheme at times better, which I mean, it's whatever is going on seems to be working way better than it did last year. So I'll take that. And yeah, it's just when you can rush the passer, you can play zone pretty well, I think, generally. Like how the Seahawks used to be able to do it. They had a front four who could get after it, and they'd play zone with the like bigger, harder hitting corners and safeties, and they thrived in it because there was no time and they had long physical corners. So
yeah. Which we both have. I mean, Vincent Gray and Gamon Green are, I'd say, more
big
suits them.
Long, not big, but like they're long.
One other thing we can note before we kind of move. There's two other things I kind of want to bring up before we close the episode. One, just being so stingy against the run game. I'm looking back at the box score. They didn't have a single runner who averaged over 3 yards a carry. Giles Jackson only averaged 3 yards a carry. He's their leading rusher. Sucks. Richard Newton had 12 carries for 24 yards, and Cameron Davis had 9 carries for 22 yards. I mean, those guys are averaging less than 3 yards a carry and being consistently behind the sticks, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 12s. It's easy to get those pass rushers going and puts the cornerbacks in a little bit of an easier time. So that's one thing. We asked the question, like, okay, what are maybe some holes in this team? You know what I mean? Like, let's not act like everything's perfect. There's still a lot of weeks to get better, and there's a lot of aspects of our team that I think we can improve on. You might disagree with me on this, but I don't think RJ Moten's been that great at the safety spot. I feel like I've seen him miss a lot of not a lot of tackles, but a few tackles. And maybe just, I just don't see him like around the. He's just quiet. I don't know. What do you think?
You got to take the ball. You got to take the ball away. I don't have a super strong opinion on RJ Moten. Like, I don't think teams haven't really been throwing deep on us. It's not like we've given up big plays, so it's not a ton to.
Yeah,
it's like to criticize individuals for, just because there's not been much go against us on defense. But I would like to see us take the ball away. We haven't done that.
We had one fumble, really 4th down. You know what I mean? So it was like a Hutchinson.
Yeah. It was like a pseudo takeaway, but
turnover and downs more or less.
I mean, it's like I'd like to see it, especially when you're playing teams you're kind of overmatching. Strip sacks, picks, something like we haven't done that yet. So I think when you play the big dogs, like that's how you win games. Like Georgia beat Clemson solely because they took the ball away from them once and took it to the house. So I would like to see us. And it's like I don't get the sense like we've had some opportunities. I mean, Brad Hawkins dropped a pick. I think we've been close to getting some strip sacks, but again, you like to see them have our safeties.
Western Michigan. Just think everything. Yeah. Cover it. You're right. I think that's a really good criticism. You know what I mean? And that, again, it's not necessarily like we're doing anything wrong, and maybe sometimes it just happens, just like.
But corner safety's not really making plays on the ball generally. Like, I haven't seen much of that. So it's like, we're not giving up big plays and keeping kind of everything in front of us. But I think you'd like to see them maybe kind of get their hands on some passes and maybe threaten to take one away.
Tip some balls, and also like when we're tackling, look for the ball. You know what I mean? We do a phenomenal job of rallying to football. Like, start poking that ball out. You know what I mean? Trying to rip it out.
Yeah.
Someone had a fumble. I forget what I saw it. And it just literally just punched it out. I forget who did it. But it was pretty sweet. I think it was NFL yesterday. But
I'm sure there's a lot of that.
It was the Tillman peanut punch. It was just like, when you just like rock.
It wasn't on Josh Allen, Cameron Hayward punching it out on J.A.
But it was somebody. I'm kind of pissed myself to have forgotten it.
But I mean, we're gonna there's probably happened a handful of times. So.
Yeah, but like that again, that type of stuff. Like when we're playing some bigger teams, we need that to happen. But that's what we have to say on the game. We got Northern Illinois.
Final thing I want to know, I want to hear your opinion on is, do you get the sense J.J. McCarthy is going to be starting some games down the stretch or not?
Yeah, we talked about that Saturday night.
I kind of do, because why else would you be putting Cade in the cage they're putting him in? Because they are not letting him do diddly.
Literally nothing.
And there were some opportunities to kind of uncork one last game, because there were some times we just conceded on 3rd and long or 2nd and long and really just kind of said, all right, fine, we'll punt it away. And
kind of like Clemson did with Trevor Lawrence.
That's exactly what I like.
Ready exactly yet, but like
we can beat these teams right now with him, but to beat the Ohio States or the other big dogs, we're gonna need to make some plays, and it just seems like they don't trust Cade to be that guy.
I wonder if it's a combination of like, okay, we don't want tape on JJ McCarthy, or it's like we just want him to And also another thing to add is apparently JJ McCarthy is like a way better athlete than we give him credit for. Like apparently he's really good with his legs.
He looks like a good athlete.
I don't know. I just didn't like in high school. It was never like always a dual threat guy. He's just
did
like,
you see him throw that ball jumping
yeah. But
six?
that's more of
Like
his
that
arm.
just shows. That
He
shows
jumped high,
you
but,
have
like,
some athleticism.
I don't know. Apparently he's like really athletic. That's what people say. So I wonder if like it's some of that.
He
too.
looks athletic, so I'm not stunned.
No, I'm not. It's like I'm not surprised. It's more just like it never really seemed like that's what was talked about. It was always like, okay, he's just got a really good arm.
Well, that's like the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. Like, yeah, you can
Yeah,
kind of
no,
see the guy
exactly.
can.
But like, would you have guessed Trevor Lawrence was a sick athlete? No, until he started.
No, until you see him.
Yeah.
Like
So I
you
wonder.
see, he looks athletic.
Circumstance. And no, I don't think you are wrong.
Well, do you think we'll see him or no? Just give an opinion, maybe. You vanilla idiot.
Yeah, I probably do. Like I don't know, like because it is weird what we're doing. We're just like not really trusting Cade McNamara to make plays. I think it's weird that he wouldn't just come out and be our starter. But like, okay,
smells weird to me.
Every week is big. You know what I mean? Like every next week is good. So you're gonna get Northern Illinois prep. Then we're gonna play Rutgers, and then maybe by that October 2nd, that Wisco game, he'll be ready to roll. Like,
right? Yeah. We'll see. Like that's. I don't know. It just smells funny. Like honestly, like I just don't see how you're playing the way you're playing if this is your starting quarterback. They're playing like Wisconsin teams from like 2 years ago, like 5 years ago, when Wisconsin has like a Hornibrook who is just a completely inept quarterback who can't throw, and they're just okay, fine. We don't have a quarterback. We're just gonna run the ball 500 times a game, and okay, it works. And then you go play Ohio State, and they smash you because you can't do that against Ohio State. But we're like, what are we going to leave a guy who's got talent for days on the bench for like this?
And that's the thing is Cade's not going to the draft. So it's like if we start him the whole year this year, he'll be back next year. And then we're going to have another quarterback controversy, you know?
I don't think, I think if he knows he's not going to start, he'll just transfer.
I don't think Cade wouldn't. I don't know. I'd be surprised if Cade transfers.
I would have been surprised if you said Giles was going to transfer. He transferred though.
Oh, Giles was
you ever know?
That's such not true. Like Giles was much less surprising. I was like, oh yeah, like he seemed. And again, not like I get you.
Oh, I was surprised.
But like, I was not surprised at all. That's funny you said that because I was just like, okay, that Giles seems like.
I think the opposite.
But no, if Cade at the end of the day, if Cade's not playing, like he wants to play, you know what I mean? He wants to be on the field. So if he knows he won't be on the field next year, he might transfer. And I wouldn't blame him. You know what I mean? It's just like go.
No, I would have no hard feelings. It's like it happened. It's like, if I'm Wisconsin, I'm not like salty at Jack Cohn. It's like it just you wanted to play the other guy. Fine, fine. No worries.
Yeah.
Cade will go play at Wisconsin or Indiana or something, and
Illinois,
that'll be okay.
Feel like that.
I don't think he'll stoop that low, but maybe.
That's a good question, and it's something to monitor. I personally, it's like tough. I don't think. I think Cade will be a guy unless he gets hurt. Probably, if I was a betting man. But I do.
He's also not a captain, is he? Which is like weird. I'm pretty sure it's Haskins and Bell, but I'm not positive.
Yeah,
but I'm almost positive.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, I just think it's JJ McCarthy era.
Yeah, I think
I would put, if they could bet it, I'd bet it. I'd put a future on him trotting out there against Wisco when we go into.
Dude, how crazy would that be? Because I wouldn't put it past Jim to be like, okay, like Kate gets us through these 4 games, Northern Illinois, and gets us to Rutgers. Although I feel like it would have happened because like they were probably planning on Washington being a top 20 team. We smoked them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think Jim thinks this team is wildly underrated, and I think he's right.
So you think like it'll be okay, like Cade, Wisco game plans for Cade, And then we see JJ trot out in the first drive against. Where do you think it
I
happens?
think he's coming. I don't know if it's Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State, but I think he's coming. I think the new era is going to begin. I don't think you don't have a starting quarterback and play the way we're playing.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to throw the ball at all, because like we're playing cowardly in terms of throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And they have to know that this isn't a sustainable system. So like, why isn't he getting a shot on 3rd and 10 to like make a play? And even when we did throw, it was just like 5 hitches across the board. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Something to monitor. I think a lot of fans probably feel that way. As of right now, we have a sick run game, sick defense. Hopefully, passing comes along. NIU noon. That's at the Big House, correct? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, it's got to be that we wouldn't be going that night.
Be going out, yeah. So it's in Ann Arbor. Then we got Rutgers the next week. So 2 teams that we should be favored to beat. Rutgers is good. Don't sleep on them. But we'll be watching that game and review it after the game, hopefully on Sunday next week. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Let us know if you guys have any thoughts about Michigan or college football in general. We do want to start kind of putting out a weekly Michigan pod since me and Dale are so passionate about that team. But yeah, other than that, we'll see you next episode. Thanks for being here. Peace.